Assalamu alaikum. Uh, Today we are going to discuss about Islamic movements in Indian colonial period. Uh, we know that there is an important, interesting fact that when we talk about the colonial period, we always look in the northern India. We don't look at the southern part of India. And when we talk about the colonial period, especially we talk about British colonial period. Actually, the colonial era in Indian subcontinent has the started in especially from Portuguese invasion. In fact, that happens in southern part of India, especially in Kerala. You know the when Vasco da Gama came to Calicut, that happened in 1498. He was the vessel of Portuguese invasion. For that same reason, he came to Kerala at that time, and he guided Portuguese army to the Southeast Asian part of Asia, especially to Kerala. Then our own subject, the Islamic movement of colonial period, actually starting from that period only. And the freedom fighter, first freedom fighter of Indian subcontinent was Zainuddin Makhdoom first. Zainuddin Makhdoom first. Actually, he was the global scholar at that time, international scholar. He went to Makkah. He went to Makkah and then Egypt. He came to Kerala after learning, and he organized a movement. He organized the Muslim mass against Portuguese invasion, and he wrote a very particular book, like Tahrir lil Ahlil Iman ala Abdat Sulban. It means he actually encouraged Muslims. Ahlul Iman means Muslims against crusades. That happened in 15th century, in 15th and the early time of 16th century. He lived in 1465 to 1522. That was his era. Zainuddin Makhdoom first. And he issued a decree, a fatwa, that all Muslims must gather under Hindu ruler, is known as Samudiri, against against the Portuguese invaders. We know that is called as jihad, the armed jihad against the enemy. We know that the jihad has many forms. One is self mujahadatun nafs, the resistance to yourself, and with armed jihad, the weapon with arms. That is another form. Zainuddin Makhdoom first issued an important fatwa against Portuguese invaders to Muslims. They must organize under the Hindu king against the common enemy of the place, of the locality, of the Malabar, that he was in Malabar region. Then he means the Malabar peoples, especially Muslims or non-Muslims, must gather under Samudiri against common enemy. That was the first movement against colonialism in Indian subcontinent. And the very particular time, that was very interesting a phenomenon in Islamic Islamic history of all over the world. Because we know that nobody, any scholars do not issue a fatwa to gather a non-Muslim leader to do a jihad, armed jihad. But Zainuddin Makhdum first did that at that time. That was very interesting, particular, amazing fatwa against the common enemy. So we have to understand that how this Islam or how the Islamic dimensions is operate under various circumstances. So that the same idea was used by Zainuddin Makhdum first at that time. His son Abdul Aziz, he was also the resistant leader against Portuguese army. And his Zainuddin Makhdum's grandson, he was known as Zainuddin Makhdum II. He was also the very prolific writer and the strong resistant leader of Muslim and non-Muslims against the Portuguese army. The Zainuddin Makhdum II wrote an interesting work, Tuhfatul Mujahideen. The Tuhfatul Mujahideen is the first primary source against Portuguese invasion in southern part of India, especially in Kerala. And he also, the Zainuddin Makhdum II also issued a fatwa towards Muslims. They must gather under a Samudri at that time. The Samudri is a title name. Okay, all Muslims must gather under Samudri to fight against the invaders. Though we must add these points to the colonial discussions or the discussion of colonialism in Indian subcontinent, because nobody, especially from the northern part of India, the experts or Islam studies scholars, they do not count these events, these incidents, these important circumstances to the discourses of colonialism. So we have to rethink about the place and the context and the Muslim resistance and Islamic movements attempts to fight colonial powers. And the second time, we know after that the Zainuddin Makhdum's era, there was another interesting point that happens in Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi and Shah Muhammad Ismail's movement. That was known as Tariqa Muhammadiyya. That happened in Barelvi. You know Barelvi, that is in UP. So these movements that happened in 1782 to and 1831. That is the time period of Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi. He organized a interesting movement. That is a totally Puritan movement. He was also a part of Tasawwuf. You know, there is a specific interesting factor in the resistance or the Muslims' attempts towards the colonial powers. That is Tasawwuf contribution to in Indian Muslims attempts to the resistance towards the colonial powers. One is Naqshbandiya Tariqat. The first one is Bahalavi Tariqat. And the second one is Naqshbandiya Tariqat. This Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi and his spokesman is Shah Muhammad Ismail. Both are from Naqshbandiya Tariqat. They organized a movement that is known as Tariqa Muhammadiyya against British imperialism at that time. Against British imperialism, and they fought Sikh empire also there, especially in Sindh and Barelvi area. And these movements created a special atmosphere for purify their Muslims' customs and their ideas and traditions. They were totally against the we know the khurafat and bid'at. We know that because innovations that is not happening in Islamic time. That was not taught by the Prophet on his Salafus Salihin, the pious people of Islam. So these Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi and Shah Muhammad Ismail were totally against these kind of innovations that happen in Muslim society, Muslim community. And the Shah Muhammad Ismail, he was a prolific writer also. He wrote As-Sirat al-Mustaqim wa Taqiyatul Iman. These two books was the tools. The two books were the tools against Muslim wise Muslims problems that was created by the different span of era among the Muslim community, like the Khurafat and Bid'at. They were also totally. These books were totally criticized Shi'i customs also, because there's two sects in Islam, especially Shiism and Sunnism, and we know from the since many centuries, the two sets have been fighting each other. So Shah Ismail and Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi, they were criticizing Shi'i elements in Sunni societies at that time. But that is not a significant factor to our topic. The significant factor is they created a movement, they organized a movement and fought against British imperialism at that time. The third important factor is Faraizi movement. Faraizi movement was founded by Haji Shariatullah, that in 1816. This is an early movement in Indian subcontinent, and this movement also was a Puritan movement, and it founded in the Haji Shariatullah founded this movement in Bengal region. We know that in Bengal for the many centuries Muslims communities actually were cooperating with the Hindus and local and they adapted many local customs to the Muslim atmosphere. So Haji Shariatullah were totally critical towards these customs, and Haji Shariatullah also fought against British imperialism. So this Faraizi movement also a very significant factor against British colonial powers. And the fourth one is the Dayubandi movement. We know that 1857, the first independent war that happens under the leadership of Bahadur Shah Zafar, but that was failed. That was a total failure because the fracture in the Muslim community and the weakness and disorientation and mismanagement of the revolt against British imperialism. Anyhow, that was totally failure. After that, after some years, there was another movement emerged. That is the Dayubandi movement in 1866. In 1866, this movement was totally pro-national movement, and this Dayubandi movement founded by Rashid Gangohi and Maulana Qasim Nanutawi and many other scholars, like same-minded scholars, and this movement was pioneer of Indian independence war at that time. This Dayubandi movement, they created another significant Islamic organization, that is Jamiat Ulama Hind, that is established in 1919. So Jamiat Ulama movement that was created by the Dayubandi movement. Dayubandi, we know that there is two kind of Muslim movements especially in northern part of India. One is Aligarh movement, second one is the Dayubandi movement. The Dayubandi movement came first and the Aligarh movement came second. And the Dayubandi movement is totally against anti-British movement, the totally pro-national movement. This movement, the Yubandi movement, they produced many scholars. They were the national leaders of Indian independence war, and they fought against British colonialism at that time. And the another one, the important another Islamic organization, the Islamic movement, that is Aligarh movement. We know that created by Sayyid Ahmad Khan. Uh, his view and perspective was totally collaborated with British ideas, Western ideas. He is known as one of the Islamic modernists in Indian subcontinent, a Muslim modernist in subcontinent. He caused to propagate many ideas of Western ideas into Muslim community, and but at the same time he was into Muslim educational and socio-political empowerment. Actually, he used his connection with British imperialism to empower his own community. That was his contribution. We can criticize how was he pro-British, and because at the same time most of the Muslim community was fighting against British imperialism, but at the same time parallelly Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan utilized the power and his collaboration and his cooperation association with British imperialism to empower his own community. That was his major contribution at that time. That happens in 1875. That started from 1875. And after that, another significant movement that started in Indian Muslim society, that is Ahle Hadith. We know that Ahle Hadith is totally connected with the Salafi movement, because they argue, they wanted the Muslim society to be just like of the pious people of in Islamic early era, like prophetic and Salafus Salihin, the pious people of Islam. They want Muslims to be Puritan. Actually, that is very significant argument of Ahle Hadith, and they at that time the Hadith and the Quran, the basic text of Islam, they were manipulated by the traditional ulama and Sufi scholars. They argue like that. So these scholars like Sayyid Nasir Hussain and Siddiq Hassan and Sanaullah Amrdasari, they are the major important scholars of Ahle Hadith. And these leaders, this Ahle Hadith movement created many Salafi, many Ahle Hadith organization in Indian subcontinent. They paved the way, they formed the platform in Indian subcontinent to be created, many organizations to be created in Indian subcontinent. That was another significant part of Muslim organizations in India in colonial period. And another important factor is Jamaat Islami. No, first one is Indian All India Muslim League. That happens in 1906, founded by Muhammad Ali Jinnah and other Muslim League leaders. And we know the history. We know how they participated in India, Indian subcontinent and Indian freedom struggle, and how it went to the partition of Indian subcontinent and create a divide by India, modern India and Pakistan. We know the history. I'm not going to the details of the All India Muslim League. By the way, anyhow, Indian Muslim League, All India Muslim League, they did contribute to the freedom struggle, or especially intellectual struggle against British colonialism at that time. And the last one, that is Jamaat Islami. founded by Maulana Abul Ala Maududi in 1941. This movement was a socio-political movement, we can say like that, a socio-political movement, and it was a revivalist movement, and it has stronghold in especially southern part of India and some northern part of India like UP, Bihar, Delhi, also Kashmir too, and this Jamaat-e-Islami formed a framework to think politically and socially. And Maulana Maududi taught the people, especially his followers, or he wrote many works. He was a prolific writer, we know that, about 100 works. And all of the works was totally about the system, the idea of system of Islam. He showed the Muslims that we are living in imperialist period, we are living in colonial period, so we have to empower ourselves and we have to think politically, economically and socially and culturally also, so we can make our own identity. That was his base concept, and he showed two kinds of concept of political theory. That is bottom up theory. It means individual, family and community or society and the state. That was the bottom up theory. Second one is the state centric theory, up down theory. That is the state controlled the society. So he introduced this theory towards to the Muslim community. So it has stronghold now in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India, and in Sri Lanka, in some part of the Sri Lanka also. This movement also participated in the colonial India, especially in after 1941, because it was founded in 1941, and we know that it is the Jamaat-e-Islami was the smallest organization in Indian subcontinent, especially in India, but it has produced huge amount of intelligentsia or intellectual power, intellectual capacity among the Muslim community. So it has huge impacts in Indian subcontinent. And I am concluding my talk that saying that why this organization is important to the Muslim community, why they were emerged or established by these leaders. So these leaders or these movements, they want to reorient the Muslim community towards Islam. They want reform. It means Islam. They want reform among Muslims because for many centuries the Muslim society, they were living in Indians among the Hindus and among any other cultures. They adapted many customs and traditions to the Muslim traditions. So they want to reform their lifestyle, and they empower the Muslim society, and they want to renovate them. It means tajdeed. They want revive them, and these organizations wanted to reconnect the people with the pious past of Islam. And another one, these movements wanted to find solutions the problems of Muslim community were facing at that time in the modern era. And these movements organized the community for their own well-being. And at the last, these movements formed a resistance to the modern tendency. And they formed a resistance to the colonial ideas that influenced in the Muslim community. Assalamu alaikum.
We must add Mampuram Tangal families, their attempts to the Indian freedom struggle against British imperialism. Sayyid Alawi Tangal was the prominent leader among Muslims of Malabar, and he led the Muslim community against British imperialism. And his son, the most famous Muslim leader of southern part of India, was Sayyid Fazal Pasha, Sayyid Fazal Pukoya Tangal. He is known as Sayyid Fazal Pasha in Usmani Accords, Usmani historical documents, because of his anti-British struggle, the British army exiled him to Arabia. Then he led the Arabian community in the name of Usmania Caliphate, and in the later period, Sultan Abdul Hamid II summoned him to Istanbul, and he became Sayyid Fazal became a wazir, or the special advisor of Sultan Abdul Hamid II. So he got the title Pasha. Then in Usmani documents, historical documents, he is known as Sayyid Fazal Pasha or Fazal Pasha. And another important freedom struggle movement or colonial movement period is Khilafat movement. We know that Khilafat movement was created by the Muslim leaders like Ali brothers, and there are many Muslim leaders at that time. This Khilafat movement is collaborated with Indian National Congress, and they fought against British imperialism. This Khilafat movement was influenced Malabar region, especially in Malabar region, and Khilafat movement was founded in 1919 in Bombay. Then after some months, it developed in Kerala also. Then after some months, about 20 units of Khilafat committee that developed in Kerala itself. So these Khilafat movements history also the part of Muslim movements in Indian freedom struggle against British imperialism.